We're going to go live now. We've got a reporter on scene there. It was Raya, I believe, but now it's Michelle. Anyway, let's go live. What have you learned on scene this afternoon?
Well, Julie, Rena, I'm about to get to some pretty ominous details. I've been on scene for about 10 minutes. It's, again, ominous is the word that I can use to describe what I'm learning right now. But first, let me paint this scene for you right now. We're at Fremont and 48th. Again, North Minneapolis, a lot of media members here trying to gain some information. This is a home, as you can see. There has been a lot of damage here to the front yard. You can see the windows are busted. We see some big tire tracks here on the front yard, on the dirt. It is clear that something happened here, guys. And MPD was able to confirm with us that this was the address where they executed a search warrant. So that much we know from MPD, again, them saying they assisted in the search warrant, the search that was happening right here. And from speaking with a roommate, he doesn't want to be named, he doesn't want to go on camera, but I spoke with a roommate in the last 5 minutes. He tells me Vance Bolter lives here just a couple times a week. Again, we already know about his residence in Green Isle, but this is where he lives just a couple times a week for about 2 years is what this roommate says. And this is so that Mr. Bolter can have some of the odd jobs that this roommate was saying. Apparently, he has worked in positions where he brings bodies to the morgue. Apparently, Mr. Bolter would also take eyeballs out for research. Again, these are the words from one roommate that I spoke with. They also know him as a good guy. There seems to be a number of roommates who share this home with Mr. Bolter. And about noon or sometime in the afternoon is when that so-called big military truck tried to come to this home, or did come to this home, and try to execute that search. That roommate I spoke with says that truck rammed the doors right open. That truck apparently had a rod with a camera attached, presumably in their attempts to find their suspect, Mr. Vance Bolter. From as far as we know, he wasn't here, and the roommates tell us, what the roommate that I spoke with tells us, Mr. Bolter has not been here all morning since he left at about 6:30 a.m. Now, what got the roommates concerned initially, they had known about the incident over in Brooklyn Park that started this whole situation, but what got them initially concerned was Mr. Bolter usually has two cars, those police-style cars, those former police cars that we are now so familiar with, but that is the cars that he normally drives around. One of the cars was in the back, and that roommate noticed the passenger side window was busted. Okay, and so one of the roommates, they started searching for Mr. Bolter. They know him as Vance. Noticed that Vance was not here at home, and so they texted him. So at that point, they did get a text back. Again, all according to that roommate I spoke with. Mr. Bolter apparently said, "I love you guys very much. I'm making some bad choices. I do not want to implicate you all. I may be gone for a while, and I may be dead." Guys, these are very, again, ominous. Those words, very ominous. And from that point on, these roommates, they contacted police. Again, I have not seen the text myself, and the words that I just read to you were me paraphrasing, or in fact, I actually wrote down verbatim what the roommate told me. And Julie, Rena, those were the words that one of the roommates I spoke with is paraphrasing, and the words that he remembers. Now, these are words, as you guys can imagine, these are words that you cannot shake off, right? Let me tell you once again some of the phrases that wrapped up that text. "I may be gone for a while, and I may be dead." Guys, back to you.
Michelle, those are some stunning details. So let me see if I get this right. In your understanding, Vance Bolter was at that house this morning around 6:30 a.m.? Or he left that house?
That's correct. That is around the last time. Correct, yes.
So did the roommates see him? Did they have contact with him this morning in person?
They say that there was a Ring camera that captured this, and so that is how they are able to pinpoint this to about 6:30 a.m. But it's unclear, Julie, whether or not they saw him this morning again. But the evidence, the strange evidence, was clear that passenger side door of that car being busted, and you can still actually in the back of this home there's glass on the ground right now as we speak.
Well, it's interesting because the vehicle he was presumably in was towed away in Brooklyn Park this morning. But also they said he lived there he stayed there a couple times a week for the last 2 years. I know this is all developing quickly, but were you able to get a description of the type of person they believed he was? And the type of work he was doing?
They use the term, or I'll use the words good guy. That is what one of the residents here told me. They believed he was a good guy. They really knew, especially, I mean, these roommates were really connected by one main roommate who seemed to be the one collecting the rent money and paying that all together to the landlord. And so he knew that person very well. I've yet to speak to this person, but I hope to very shortly as soon as I get off air. But Vance apparently knew that person very well. Once again, his job description was bringing bodies to the morgue. He would also take eyeballs out for research, and then he would have a room here just a few times in the week while he was carrying out that work. Where exactly, who employed him? It's unclear. We're unsure. They didn't identify a name of a business. But again, good guy. He apparently college educated, smart, he said, the roommate said. And we also know that he had written a book for the church. And so again, good guy. That was how Mr. Vance Bolter was perceived here by his roommates.
So he stayed there, according to the roommate, just because he didn't want to make that drive to Green Isle? Is that why he was staying in Minneapolis a couple times a week, according to the roommate?
Presumably so. Green Isle is quite far, yes.
And Michelle, forgive me, you might not know the answer to this, but you said he wrote a book for a church, his church. Do you know which church, the name of the book?
Details I have yet to find out, but I'll go ahead and ask right after I get off the air with you guys. But he said, the roommate said he wrote a book for the church.
Okay.
And he did say that they called authorities to say, hey, this is our roommate.
They did.
Well, we're thankful that they did that.
They did alert authorities. Correct.
All right, well, some really stunning information. We're going to let you go so you can try to collect more information for us. Thank you. That's a lot of insight you just provided from that roommate. Thanks so much, Michelle. We appreciate it. That's stunning. There's understandable then why police thought they might find him at that home if he lived there and at least part-time for the last couple of years.
Or at least find more information that could lead them to where he is or what prompted him to do this. We are learning information as you're watching here. And again, this was information that Michelle got from a roommate, not confirmed by police. So we should just make sure that we reiterate that this is, I would call that hearsay at this point until we know more from officers.
If it turns out to be true, absolutely stunning that, in paraphrasing, that apparently Vance Bolter, the suspect in this mass shooting this morning, texted his roommate saying he loved them very much, that he'd been making some bad choices, maybe gone for a long while, or maybe dead. Again, this is that very eerie photo released by the FBI of who they believe is Vance Bolter at the door of one of the victims. We don't know whose house this is, whether it's Hortman's or Hortman's, but this was taken this morning before those horrific acts were committed at that home. And here are some photos that were also released that show him without that mask over his face. The FBI has said he's got brown hair, brown eyes, and as you can see, 6'1", 220 pounds. And the picture that you see of him in the cowboy hat was taken this morning after the shootings somewhere in Minneapolis. Lou, I thought, brought up a good point when he was tracking Representative Hortman's home to that address in Fremont. It sounds as if his car was confiscated, the only vehicle he would have had access to that we know of. So even if he had to walk, he would have had plenty of time to commit those horrific crimes and walk to that address on Fremont, where his roommates say they spotted him on their Ring camera and then alerted authorities that he'd been there.
Well,